The Republican National Convention kicks off in Milwaukee today. Delegates will formally nominate Donald Trump as their party's presidential candidate this afternoon. And it comes, of course, in the aftermath of an assassination attempt during a Trump rally on Saturday. So how will this weekend's attack impact the convention? For more on this, we want to bring in Missouri Congressman Jason Smith. He's at the convention this week as well. Thanks for joining us, Congressman. I will ask you to get your reaction to what happened over the weekend, now that you've had a day or so to let it kind of sink in.
You know, it was absolutely unconscionable. You just don't think something like that would happen. It hasn't happened in the United States since Reagan was shot almost 4 decades ago. And we all saw it live. And then you just wondered the whole time, well, is he alive? He dropped to the floor. What's going on? Is anyone else injured? So I think all Americans are facing a lot of grief, sorrow, and at least they're happy that he survived.
The whole country is talking about this, and almost only this. Is this going to have an impact on the conversations that are being had at the RNC this weekend? It's got to change things a little bit.
I think you're going to see that it definitely has a response. I think that the response of unity, the response that violence is never acceptable when it comes to political disagreements or in any conduct. I think you've seen that from President Trump. I think you've also saw that from President Biden and how they've been reacting. The scare tactics that we have seen in this election cycle of, like, one candidate, for example, they claim that President Trump would eliminate democracy. That kind of objective creates the uneasiness and causes people to do really nutty stuff, like we saw the 20-year-old attempt to do.
But as you know, there's all sorts of language on both sides that could definitely be considered inflammatory. You yourself have said some things, suggesting that the current president doesn't know how to turn the lights on in the White House. And there's a de facto government actually running things because President Biden's not actually clued in. All of that stuff contributes, I think, to the kind of environment that we're seeing right now. But that doesn't mean that someone picks up a weapon. I want to ask you about this shooter used an AR-style semi-automatic rifle. As you know, the Republican platform that we saw recently really doesn't address, I think, gun control to any significant degree. Is it time to maybe talk a little bit more about gun control and gun violence at the RNC?
What we have to talk about is mental illness. Anyone who jumps in front gets on top of a roof and decides to shoot a former president of the United States has some mental illness, mental health. It wasn't the gun that did it. It was the person pulling the trigger that did it. That's absolutely unacceptable. In regards to the statement that you said about me talking about Biden doesn't know how to turn on the lights in the White House, I think a lot of Americans, including a lot of members of his party, does not think he's equipped to lead this nation.
You can admit that statement right there is certainly a valid opinion. But the type of language that we've seen being used over the last few years, there are different ways to state your disagreement that doesn't have to be as inflammatory.
I totally agree. We need to be discussing policy issues, not in regards to scare tactics. Scare tactics is what causes people to do extreme things, such as shoot and try to assassinate Donald Trump.
Let me ask you about the other big decision that we're waiting to hear from Donald Trump. It's about his VP pick. There seems to be a short list, but I've been told that list could evolve. Who do you think he needs to pick as a running mate? What are the qualities he needs in a running mate?
Well, let's just say this. We are blessed in the Republican Party to have so many choices. We have numerous very qualified individuals that he's looking at. And, President Trump has hired many people. And so I'm really excited. Out of the thousands of people he's been able to hire in his lifetime, he has such great choices. And I think whoever he ends up with, the Republican Party is going to be greatly served. There's a lot of speculation that it's down to just a handful. but we'll see. But it's going to be really exciting. It may come as soon as today.
I'll ask you the same question that I asked Representative Emmer. Do you have a favorite?
You know, I like all of them. I'm friends with all of them, but I would hate to pick one right now, especially since we'll know probably this evening.
Probably pretty smart. Congressman Jason Smith, thank you very much.
Thank you.